You're listening to Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. Small town feel with big time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Well, I'll look at this camera over here. Why not? Today at Melissa Woods of Enchanted Woods Travel. We're going to talk about the summer travel season and some things to avoid, some places to, or some commonly made mistakes, because a lot of people think, I get on the internet and I could do this all myself, and you end up staying in some junky hotel. So we're going to talk about what you need to do for your summer travel plans. How long have you been doing this?
Since 2016.
Okay. And we'll talk about, what possessed you to get into it, because I can't handle details. I am not a detail person. And I can only imagine you get these clients and they're like, they just want everything just so. I would say, just shut up and eat your sandwich. I wouldn't be not good at customer service. So, Taylor, you got a guest in the booth that looks like, who is this youngin' again?
Yeah, it's my buddy Josh.
Yeah,
he's going to be helping out here.
All right. What are you paying him? Thousands of dollars?
That's classified.
Okay, that's fine.
I could tell you, but I have to kill you.
Believe me, after the day I've had, you might be doing me a favor, all right?
Yikes.
Oh, well, insurance, I will give a shout out to Melissa Harmon again, because she's holding my hand through this whole process, because I haven't had to do a claim like this ever. And I'm like, what does this mean? And, am I getting my money? And then she's, getting me off the ledge. Anyway, let's run through the sponsors real quick, and then we'll talk about travel this summer and maybe travel in general, but also what Melissa can do for you and some of the places she specializes in. First of all, you have Our Place Restaurant. I bet you've been there before.
I have.
Yeah, who hasn't been to Our Place, all right?
Breakfast is wonderful.
It is. It really is. And I need to branch out on the lunch, because I go in there and say, okay, I'm going to do something different. But I can't get away from the chicken fried steak. So anyway, Otto and I have become pretty good friends since he's become a sponsor about 4 years ago now. And he's a very fine man. He really treats his employees well, because there's such a long-term, they don't have much turnover is what I'm trying to say. And usually in restaurants, there's a lot of turnover. Yeah. Have you been to Gina's yet, his new pizza place?
I have not, but I don't eat pizza.
Oh, you don't?
No, but my husband and my kid would like it.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. Well, they have sandwiches there if you don't like pizza so much.
There you go.
Yeah, and salads and such. My wife she likes pizza, but if there's a salad available, that's what she's going for. So there you go. But it's really, really good. All of it is. As far as the hours, they're open on Wednesday through Sunday, 11 to 10. All right, now, Wild Cigar and Culture. Somehow I get the feeling you may not be a cigar smoker.
No, I'm not.
I know, but anyway, but there's somebody in your life that may be. And Father's Day is coming up. You can get them a gift card, and they, place and you have a cigar and have a decent drink. It's quiet. You can meet your clients there if they require it. You do most of this online though, right?
Most of it's done online out of my home office.
Yeah, and so I usually do my meetings either here or at Our Place. Depends on whom I'm talking with at the time. Also, they have an event coming up, by the way, don't want to forget, a week from Friday, a tiki party. So they're also giving away a raffle for a grill. So take a look at that. Local Life Magazine. This goes to 30,000 homes. I bet you're familiar with it.
I am.
And it's a great magazine. Tiffany does a great job with it. Also, locallifetx.com. You can check that out for something more current, if you will. But it's very, it is really well done. And also what I see in a lot of the retail outlets or mechanic shops or whatever else, or at Our Place or whatever, at Wild Cigar, there'll be extra copies. And so while people are doing their business, they'll also be perusing the magazine. So it goes to a lot of places other than just to the homes. Also, some people these are all B&I people, and Melissa's our chapter success coach for our particular chapter. We kind of drive her a little crazy, but that's okay.
Y'all are fine.
Yeah, well, we are a good group, and I like that, but
we do love Southern Gym.
Southern Gym. My wife works there, and
didn't know your wife worked.
Yeah, have you been there before?
I have. She takes care of my jewelry for me.
There you go. And Gayla does a really good job, and people. I'm surprised. Robin will tell me, that they get a lot of repeat business. That doesn't surprise me, but where they're coming from surprises me. I mean, we're talking about they come from all over the area, not just Burleson. They'll make the hour-and-a-half drive to Southern Gym, which tells me a lot about Southern Gym. So it's where am I here and sharing all this stuff? They do repairs, they do cleaning, they do designs, and of course they have inventory. So they have the whole 9 yards. Also, another BNI member, Two Maids with Brenda Ramirez. twomaidscleaning.com/Burleson, 817-764-0733. They have multiple different plans. A lot of us at BNI use it for our parents, and we also have deals. I know 2-3 of our members also use Brenda for themselves, but they also, our parents are getting to that point, where they need a little extra help, and there you are, and they got all sorts of plans, and you pay them based on what you rate them. So if you really, really like the job, they get paid more. So there you go. It's very, it's a good business model. Also, our friends over at Old Pro Roofing, John Williams, 817-734-2756. He's very, very busy because particularly in the upper parts of DFW, they have had a lot of hail. Several of my friends that live in Collin County got hit pretty hard last week, and so they'll do business in a 2-hour radius. But they are hometown people. They're over in Old Town, so you do business with them, you know where to find them. They're not driving by, hitting you up for a roof job, and then boom, you'll never see them again. So 817-734-2756. Also, another BNI member, Candy Gal, with her partner Sammy Campbell over at Camco Mortgage. I've dealt business with them in a couple other spots that we're in, and they do really good work for refinancing, cash outs, the original financing, things of that nature. They know what's going on. They also really good about holding your hand through the process. If you ever closed on a house, that could be nerve-wracking, and you get writer's cramp signing your name. Now, initial this to show that you signed your name. Now, sign this to show that you initialed to sign your name, that kind of thing. And I'm like, did I just give away, my kidney or liver or what? So anyway, Candy Gal, 817-925-2661. Sammy over at your office right across the street from Fish City at 817-778-4592. So you can walk in their office and talk to them personally. And my latest sponsor, Jeff Kelly of JeffKellyRealty.com. We'll get you his email address. He's working with the Wethington Agency. His cell phone, 817-781-0546. The office, 817-720-6300. He'll be on in a couple of weeks from today. We're going to talk about real estate here in Burleson and what the market's really like here as opposed to what you read about in the national news. Because, read about this area of the country having a hard time. What Burleson's booming.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. How long have you lived in this area?
Since maybe 1998.
Yeah, so you've seen it grow.
Yeah.
I've lived here since 91, and I taught here since 88, and Burleson was totally different then. And so it's I like it. Some of the old timers are going to mumble, grumble, whatever, but that's their problem. All right, let's talk about summer travel season. I'm reading, and I see on the news about the airports never had this much business. The airlines are, packed and all this other stuff. Is that been your experience when you're trying to book flights and things of that nature?
I mean, the airlines are packed. Mm-hmm. The airports are busy. Mm-hmm. It is definitely busy. I don't know that they've never been this busy, mm-hmm. but it is definitely busier than normal, mm-hmm. Or than it was in the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. Travel is ticking up.
Why is that? And I know COVID had an impact on it, but I'm talking about, it seems like the last couple of years, more and more people are taking trips and whatnot. That's what I saw in the news actually not too long ago, a couple of days ago on the NBC News. They talking about how they expect a record travel season with the airlines, and I'm like, and also a record travel season by a car. Why do you think that's happening?
I mean, I really don't know. I think it's, everybody got pent up and COVID was a problem. And so for the first year, it was rebound travel is what they called it. Mm-hmm. And now I think everybody's just realized that getting out and doing those things with family and making memories is kind of what life's all about.
I agree. And my wife certainly does. I don't like to fly, and it has nothing to do with like fear of heights or anything like that. I'm claustrophobic more than anything else. And these airlines, they pack you in, particularly that cattle car known as Southwest Airlines. But when people call you up, do they call you and say, I want to get on this airline? Or do you say, this is a better airline for what you want?
It depends on where they're going and what they want. So if they call and they're very adamant about a certain airline, then I will put them on that airline. But I always look and see if we can find them better pricing, better flight times, better options. There are a few airlines we won't particularly book. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can imagine a couple of them, but you specialize in certain areas. It isn't. I mean, you'll deal with anybody that wants your services, I'm sure, but you are specializing, I know, in Disney and Universal and Orlando related. So, which is the best airline to go to Orlando?
I think it depends on pricing and how many. If you have 10 people going and you can save $100 a person doing one airline versus the other, then obviously that's a lot of money. American from DFW and Southwest from Love Field tend to price out pretty good from this area going into Orlando. So we just look and see which one's better. And, Southwest might be the cattle, like you call it, but they don't charge for luggage. So if you have 5 kids going, that can save you a lot of money on luggage.
See, that's the kind of thing I wouldn't know because, I would look first at price. I get on the website, look at price and time. And of course, the last time I flew was a little bit while ago, a couple summers ago. And we went to St. Louis on Southwest, and to be able to get the discounted flight, we had to be on board by 6 a.m. at Love Field. So, you're talking about an exceptionally early morning. And then the flight back was supposed to be 10:30, and it was delayed an hour and a half. So we didn't get back home to DFW till 3 in the morning. But see, most of your people, I would imagine, if they're going to commit to a vacation in Orlando, they're not going to try to shave off $100. They probably already have budgeted for what they want, what kind of experience they want. And that's where you come in, right?
Right. So most of them have, a budget in mind, and we try to stay as close to that as possible as long as it's realistic because, long gone are the days of I want to go somewhere for $20. It's just not going to happen.
I haven't even remember that.
Right.
But I do remember Southwest used to advertise flights to Houston for $70 and that kind of thing.
And you have to, pay for convenience, right? So it's one of those, do I want to get my kids up and have them at the airport at 4:00, or do I want to sleep a couple of hours and pay an extra $50 a flight? Everybody's different. Some people want to arrive as soon as they can and hit the ground running, by noon in Orlando and have that whole day at the parks. And others are like, no, I'm just going to get there, eat, sleep, chill, and hit the parks the next day. So we just kind of look at whatever that family wants to do and what they like.
How did you get connected with Disney and Universal? There's a process to that?
There's a process. Originally, I just kind of started planning my friends' vacations. So that's kind of where all this happened. And then had a few conversations with other people and other travel agents, and they were like, you really need to do some research. You can get paid for this. So that's kind of what I did. Interviewed different host agencies and different agencies that I could work with and picked one, landed on that. And they actually have contracts with Disney, Universal, all-inclusives and stuff like that. And so we work directly with them.
See, a lot of people might think, well, I'll just plan it myself on the internet because a lot of information's available. I wouldn't do that myself, primarily because I would want to know if I was getting the best deal and if I was leaving money on the table. And that would kind of nag at me if I just tried it myself. Or if I end up trying to, this hotel is $20 cheaper, and you find out, really, it's a dump, but you save $20. I would want to have somebody that says, no, this is a pretty good hotel for you, and it's worth the extra money. That kind of advice. And that's what you provide, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Have you stayed in these places?
I've stayed at pretty much all of the Disney resorts, all of the Universal resorts. We also do Mexico and all-inclusive Caribbean. We've stayed in all of those. We do cruises. We've taken, tons of cruises. So everything we sell, we've pretty much done.
And this is on their dime. That's what I like about it because...
not always.
Well, maybe when you go to Universal or Disney, aren't they trying to get you to refer clients to them?
Absolutely. But most of the time I am paying for my own trip.
Oh, really? Okay. I just had an impression that Disney said, come out of here and, or at least give you some sort of
there are occasions when you have, higher sales volume, stuff like that. They invite you out for trainings where you visit the resorts and you walk through parks and do different things, which I'm actually going to in July. But for the most part, all of the times you see me at Disney with my daughter or wherever, I've paid for that trip. And we do get, some sort of discounted rates occasionally. But it's more about my experience, and that's my business. Like, I don't ever want anybody to think, hey, this travel agent travels for free all the time, because we do not.
I guess no, I didn't really think that. I did think that to be some compensation of sorts. Not really. Okay. I know that you'd told me before when you'd been in our meetings one, and we talked about general travel that not everything's picked up. It's not like you can go to Disney World, live in the top of the best hotel and, run up a bill. But
Wouldn't that be nice?
yes, it wouldn't be. I had a feeling that maybe you might get some compensation on or a discount on the hotel room, but basically you have to get out there yourself one way or the other.
To get out there yourself, we do have, some travel agent rates once you've taken their training, been certified, have a certain number of sales. And that's kind of with any place that we book or do, Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. There's always a master's certificate that you have to take. You have to do all the certifications, have a certain number of sales. And then when you do that, they give it to you because they don't want somebody just going, oh, I joined a travel club and I'm an agent and I get all this free stuff.
Oh, no. I guess if I implied that, I misspoke.
No, you didn't. I like to clarify so everybody knows that, it's not 100% as glamorous as it looks, but I also wouldn't change it for anything.
Well, like my sister-in-law works for in airlines and they get discounted tickets and sometimes they get maybe discounted hotel rates, but they're not free.
Right.
But they are less than market. And so that's an incentive for some of the hotels to get that word of mouth going, so to speak, and reference and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, when you go to Disney World,
okay,
which is your favorite part?
Magic Kingdom.
Really?
Yeah, I like the princesses.
I really liked it's been a while. It's been 20 years since I've been to Disney World. I really liked the African Kingdom, I believe it's called.
Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom. I really liked that. And I know it's
like a giant zoo.
Yeah, I really liked it. And Epcot. What I liked about Epcot is that these people that were working Epcot in the various, nationality areas, whatever, were from that country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as opposed to, some Orlando high school kid, Yeah. We walked into a French pastry place and they were French. And it was great,
Yeah, that's very neat.
What I also remember when my kids was much smaller then, my daughter was 5, my son was 8, and we had to eat with Winnie the Pooh. And it was the most expensive peanut butter and jelly sandwich I ever had.
It still is.
Yeah, it's like $50 for both of them. And they took a couple bites and then they want to go run and play with Tigger or hug the bear and all that.
Yeah, they're still there. You can still do that.
But, how many times do you think you've been to Disney World?
Well, my daughter's first trip she was 5, and that was also my first trip. And she's now 17, and we've gone a couple of times a year since then, every year. And that's also what she wants to do for her senior trip. So
really, I mean, it doesn't get old or boring to you at all.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. Has it changed in all the time you've been there?
It changes every year. Sometimes it changes every 6 months.
Really? I mean, I'm sure they added attractions, whatever else.
Adding attractions, adding dining, building new parks, they refurbishing things. There's always something new every time we go.
Do you recommend staying on property or getting a hotel in Orlando?
On property every time.
Every time. Just for the convenience sake? Is it cheaper that way?
Convenience. Sometimes it's cheaper. By the time you pay for parking and transportation from another hotel, different things like that. Plus, you're in the bubble. Disney, you need to be in the bubble.
Really? You just forget about just going world outside.
It's like a whole other world.
It is. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody that didn't say something similar to that. It's like you step out of reality for 3 or 4 days.
You do.
And
it's a perfect reality because everyone's happy and Mickey's there and the princesses and what else?
What I did notice about Disney World is the staff there, at least at that time, really strove very hard to make your experience good. They were trying to find ways to, keep you happy, so to speak. And not that we had any complaints, but if you had any questions about something, they would really do everything they can to answer those questions or satisfy whatever's, on your mind. I really did think the service was pretty good. Now, it was hot and humid and all that other stuff, but those little kids didn't seem to mind at all. When's the best time to go to Disney World?
Well, I don't particularly personally like to go in the summer because it's hot. So if you ask me when I like to go at Christmas before the kids get out of school because when school gets out, obviously it's going to be busy, right? So we do our yearly trip usually the first couple of weeks of December. Because we like Christmas and all the Christmas decorations, and I just pull my child out of school for it.
Well,
some people can't do that. So if you can't do that, the weather is also nice at spring break, or the fall break. You have to be able to deal with crowds and take a little extra patience. But
in my first choice would be when is it the least crowded? Because I don't like crowds. So when would it be probably the least crowded time of year? February?
Such a loaded question because now they have so many events that go on in those non-crowded times to bring in the parks. So end of January, 1st of February, if there's not a Run Disney or something going on. September's not bad, but you're in rainy season, so it could rain while you're there.
Yeah.
Disney's just always busy. So if there's not a busy time, that's probably the two least crowded times.
When we went back to that trip, we went 20 years ago, our first night there, we got there early. We had early flights and all this other business. Got there about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Said, hey, let's go. Why waste the time? We were staying in a timeshare. And boy, it came down like Noah's flood, that night. We were absolutely soaked. But, again, the kids didn't seem to mind. My daughter got to hug Minnie Mouse and have a picture made with her.
You put on a raincoat and
that's right.
just go.
That's right. They give you raincoats.
Yeah.
It is Universal.
Okay.
Is also, I've been there not a couple times, one time, but, I went there 2-3 days on our trip. And this time the kids were older. And I liked Universal better, and for a couple of reasons. One is, since the kids were older, they can go off and do their thing. And my brother-in-law and I could sit in Margaritaville, all right? And they're about 16, 15 at the time. I just liked Universal better. I just thought it was more of a theme park and less of all the other stuff that goes on at Disney World. How many times have you been there? Multiple times?
Multiple times.
And
a couple of times a year.
Something in the back of my head says that we have a Universal coming to this area. Is that right?
We have it's going to be Universal. It's owned by Universal. It's coming to Frisco.
Right.
It's not going to be the giant park like that's in Orlando. And it's actually going to be geared more towards your younger, call it under 12-ish probably.
Oh, really?
It's not going to have as much bigger rides as the one in Orlando.
Okay.
But we've seen some plans. I haven't seen a lot of them yet. It is coming. It'll at least be something to do.
Yeah. Well, it would rival Six Flags. I mean, that's been since I was born practically,
I mean, yes and no, probably for the youngers, because it's going to be more of an experience than Six Flags. And I think that's where people are like, well, I like Six Flags and I don't want to go to Disney, because my husband was the same way. And I'm like, Disney is like, it's a whole thing. It's an event and an experience. Six Flags is riding a roller coaster.
Well,
so in Disney, you're like sitting in line, or even in Universal, you're in the lines. It's part of an experience, right? So they make it so you're not just standing there sweating to death to get on the roller coaster. So it's more of an experience. Universal's great. Universal's especially good for older teens because the rides are bigger. They do have stuff for younger kids. And Harry Potter fans, that's the place to be. There's 2 Harry Potter worlds, and it's just amazing.
I bet if I went back now, I'd be amazed at how much different it is.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like we go back to Six Flags, that's our standard. Then you talk about the whole experience. Well, you go into the French area, or you go into the, other areas. It's not the same thing, is it?
It's not the same. The 2 are not the same.
Well, see, I remember different rides, and they actually did emphasize that more. Now it's not so much. The Confederate side, they don't emphasize very much, or the Mexico portion, they don't emphasize as much. Basically, it's the rides, and all that. But I will agree, obviously, that the Disney World is an immersive experience, and I don't know how expensive it is, but they have different packages, right?
Absolutely. They have, they call value, moderate, and deluxe resorts. So we just get you into the package that works for you. However many days of park days you want to be there, all of it can be adjusted. So we just start out with like your pie in the sky, what you want, and then we narrow it down if we need to fit budgets so that all families can go.
I would like to try deluxe. Do you get older people like myself, just like myself and my wife, without kids going to Disney World?
Absolutely. I have people that are in their 20s and 30s and 40s and my age that want to go by themselves because it's a different experience.
I just would think that going without kids it'd be unusual, but apparently not.
No, there are so many adult trips, and sometimes it's actually fun to go without. Mine gets mad when I go without her.
Well,
it's a different experience. There's different things for you to do. And now you're kind of catering to what does mom and dad like? What do I like? And I don't have to have the kids with me.
You have to worry about, getting lost in the crowd, because that was my wife's big worry, that, we get separated, and all, they're little children, and she'd be all upset, but it was fine. And, but that's just, if it was just my wife and I, there'd be other places I might think of first. But it's interesting to know that a lot of people still want to be even if they're in their 60s like me, still want to be a kid.
I have one couple that's where they go for anniversaries and birthdays every year. And they've been married like 30 years.
How about that?
So
besides Disney and Orlando-related event places, where else? Or you'd say cruises, but do you have other locations in the States or in Europe that you specialize in?
Other locations in the States. There's a Universal and a Disney in California. So we can do all of those in Hollywood. Branson, Missouri, because we've been there several times and we are pretty, know all the things that go on around there. Galveston is another one because I just love Galveston.
Really? My wife's been there with her sister 3 or 4 times. I have never been to Galveston.
I love it. I grew up going to Galveston. I like the island. I like the people. So we do that. State-wise, it can help get you to a lot of places if you need it. There may not be, I think you and I talked earlier about Carolina or somewhere like that.
Charleston.
It's not something that I specialize in because I've never been there. Can I help you and kind of line out a few things with your airfare and hotel? Absolutely.
So if I, let's say I want to go to Charleston with the wife, I would rather have you go through all the better deals, because I would just get on an airline website or a hotel website or an Expedia or something like that. And I'm not sure I would be getting the best bargain for my money.
Right.
Because I wouldn't know, okay, this hotel is $300 a night, this one's $270 a night. But, that $300 one may be well worth the extra $30. And I wouldn't know that. I would say, well, I want to save $30 a night. And end up having a lesser experience because I was just cheap. Which
right.
is, so.
And that happens.
Yeah, but that's where you come in.
That's, we could come in and help with that. It's like I said, it's not something we specialize in, but I do have a team of 5,000 other agents that I'm affiliated with, that if you called me with that, I would first go to them and be like, okay, what are the best places to stay? And what are some things they need to do there? And then I would come back to you with the information that we found out.
Another place my wife wanted to go, which I'm not quite as crazy about, is New Orleans. Do you do much with that?
I have not, but I have a almost bestie travel agent that lives in New Orleans. So I would call her.
So if I said, hey, set me up with something in New Orleans, you just call your network of people.
I would call my network of people.
And they would say, these are the hotels you want to avoid. These are the ones you want to look at. These are the restaurants that are really, really good for the money. These are overpriced. That's the kind of thing I would want.
Correct. So what we would do is you would call me, and then I would send you a form or to our website to get a form. And on that form, it's just a client intake form. And I'm going to ask you, do you want to hang out at the bars downtown New Orleans, or do you want to be here, right? So you're going to fill out this form and answer all these questions. And then I'm going to call my network and go, okay, this is what he likes. This is the kind of hotel he likes. What are the best options here? And then she'll give me back that information.
I have a few acquaintances that like to go to New York City during Christmas to do shopping and things like that. Do you get that sometimes?
I do. And we actually have a tour company that we work with in New York that helps set up packages. I have one that set up the sitting in front of the parade and like the best places to sit for the parade and all of those things. And they do some special tours there as well.
Well, I'm not as excited about going to New York as I used to be because of all the stuff going on up there. Same with Chicago. My wife and I went there. I love Chicago. I don't know if I'd go there now, but we had a great time. Do you have anything going on there, or just
I do not.
contacts?
Most of my specialty stuff is going to be Caribbean, all-inclusives, cruises, destination weddings, outside of the United States.
Well, let's talk about those cruises, because Robin wants to go on a cruise. My kids have been on cruises. Most people I know have been on a cruise, but somehow it just doesn't do it for me. I mean, what am I missing?
I think it depends on the cruise that you're on, and the cruise line and the person, right? So again, that's where we do our intake form. I had someone call last night. This is actually kind of funny. She said, I've been on one cruise. I hated it. This is the cruise line I was on. I felt like I was trapped and claustrophobic, and there were too many little children running around. And I'm like, okay, well, I have a cruise line that is adults only. There's no kids. It's got fantastic food. It goes here and here, and you can have a balcony room. And she was like, wait, what? Like, she didn't even realize that there are cruise lines that cater and that are adults only. I think she ended up booking the trip about 2 hours later because she had no desire to go on a cruise.
Well, so, I guess in my mind, when I think of cruises, I think of small cabins. And I'm down in the basement area, probably.
I mean, there are an option.
Yeah.
You know, if you want that interior cabin that's bottom dollar down in the basement.
Well,
I prefer a balcony.
Sure.
I prefer to be higher up on the boat. Prices are not terrible, and it also depends on the cruise line and, you know, the popularity of it or whatever. There's some new ships right now that, you know, they're not that cheap to get on, but they are amazing.
I saw a picture of this new one that was like a gigantic.
The Icon of the Seas.
I guess that's the one. It was just unbelievable. I mean,
It's unbelievable.
The interior of it was, you know, it was like Vegas.
It's amazing.
And I thought, you know, you're supposed to be going, you know, on the ocean, but you're hardly even noticing what's going on at all.
It's amazing. There's another new one, same company, same cruise line, Royal Caribbean. It's called the Utopia. It's going to be just as amazing, and we'll be on that one for the third sailing.
I wonder how
So
much
that'd be awesome.
that cost to build. I mean, it's because it was showing all the different restaurants and all this other stuff. And see, and that's another thing, you know.
Roller coasters and water slides and all the things.
This one had like a go-kart track or something like that. And
Norwegian.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, you know, I guess that's great, but, you know.
That sounds pretty cool if you ask me.
Well.
It is pretty cool.
Would you want to go on that, Taylor? That kind of cruise?
Go-karts?
Go-karts,
and roller coasters on a cruise?
Yes.
Wow.
And like
It's pretty
water
amazing.
slides and
some of the water slides like shoot out over the ocean. So my husband is like, yeah, I'm not getting on that because he, you know, thinks about all the craziness. There's rock climbing walls, ice skating rinks. But you know that Disney World or Disney in general was one of the first to start catering cruise lines towards children.
right.
And so after they started doing it and came up with their ship, then all these other cruise lines started adding all these extra things.
Is that the famous big red ship or something like that? It used to be called. I don't know the Disney ship.
It's blue and
okay.
yeah, and has some red lines in it. And some
No,
yellow.
well, there used to be a ship they used to call it, but this must be. I'm dating myself again. But see, you know,
I mean, I'm not that old. I'm old, but I'm not that old.
no, you're not that old. And I also am old enough to remember the Love Boat, and I thought that's what it is all about. You know,
And that's how it
they
started.
had boats back then?
no, yeah, I helped Noah build his. So, anyway,
So there's a cruise line for everybody. Old, young, party, relax, children, no children. And again, that's all about the intake form and the conversation that we have before to figure out what you like and what works for you.
Well, my son went on an all-inclusive with his fiance's family. And it was all-inclusive. And he said after a while he got tired of eating, you know.
It's a good place to do that.
Yeah, and my daughter said the same thing. But one time she went on a cruise. She's been on 2 or 3, and she said, at that last day, you're like, I just can't eat anymore, you know, because you know, if it's already paid for.
They don't force you to eat.
No, but it's all paid for, so you don't worry about, you know, having to run up a tab or whatever else.
True.
And you know, I think they did have like drink tickets so that you wouldn't be overserved or something like that, but they were pretty generous with those too.
Now it's a bracelet, and they just go, "Oh, you have a bracelet. Here's a drink."
You have to have some self-control.
Yes, that's probably smart.
Yeah, it is, but it's so I'm missing out. Is what you're telling me, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. You do Caribbean cruises. What destination would you advise? If I just said, "Hey, I want to go on a cruise. Where should I go?" Where would you advise to go?
We're talking about a cruise, not an all-inclusive.
Because all-inclusive is basically you're out in the ocean all the time.
Well, no, there's cruise. You're getting on a cruise. You're going to different ports. So if you leave from Galveston, you're going Cozumel, Costa Maya, Yucatan. A all-inclusive is you're getting on an airplane. You're flying to Mexico, Cancun, going to a resort, and you're there the entire time.
I'd rather We're talking about cruises, okay?
Okay, let's go back to cruises then.
All right, let's talk about cruises, and then I'll go back to the all-inclusive because if I don't have to get on a boat, that sounds good too. But like, places in the Caribbean, where would you suggest if I said, hey, I want to go to somewhere, Jamaica or Aruba or whatever else? What would you suggest?
I personally like the Eastern Caribbean cruises. So the ones that are going to hit, Nassau. Each cruise line has probably a private island. So Royal Caribbean has Coco Cay, the private island in the Bahamas. I love that place. The ones that hit like St. Martin or Antigua or Aruba, just your Eastern islands. And not that going out of Galveston is bad or going to Mexico, but I've done it so many times that I like to go east because you have more options, right? So if you're on a cruise from Galveston, you're hitting probably 5 places, depending on the length of the cruise. Most of them 4 or 5 days, you're going to Cozumel and Costa Maya. There's only so many times you can do that. So then it's about getting on the boat and just having fun on the boat or going somewhere because Galveston's an easy port for us versus because we can drive there versus having to pay that extra airfare to fly to Florida to get on the boat to go to the Bahamas.
Most of my friends have been on some sort of Mexican resorts. I haven't done this in part because, you hear stories, you see the news, what's going on in Mexico. Is that somewhat outside of what these resorts are about? I mean, are they? The
majority of it is outside. You will hear stories of things that have happened on resorts. It is possible. We've had some stuff happen here recently, the past couple of years. But for the majority of it, it is safe. You can see I'm a 5'2" female, and I go to Mexico by myself all the time to go and stay at these resorts and, for conferences. And I feel perfectly safe. I feel perfectly safe with my drivers. Have no problem. Okay. I'm going in 14 days with my husband.
Oh, really? Where are you going? Well, you have to tell us.
We're going to Cancun.
Okay.
It's just a quick trip. I'm going to go look at a couple of new resorts. And then I have some photographers set up for some stuff for the website. And we're going to take our honeymoon anniversary birthday trips all together because we haven't gone really anywhere without my 17-year-old.
How about that? Taylor, if you'd put this on the screen, for us to read through here. There you go. Thank you. You also, he says, we can help with autism disability-friendly travel. I mean, I've been dealing with the Center for ASD for about 3 years now, and they've made me aware of all the extra needs that autism and other disabled people have. And you specialize in this. Yes.
So I was at a training or a conference, and they started talking about being certified in autism and disability-friendly travel. And some of the statistics from that actually spoke to me because it was like 85% of the families that have an autistic or a disability do not get to travel. And I'm like, what? And I almost started crying, like right there. I was like, what? Because you want to have that family, those memories and those things. And with the disabilities and the different needs that they may have, a lot of families don't know that there are actually resorts or cruise lines that help cater to some of those special needs. So I went through the autism and disability training between 2 different places. And now I have just a repertoire of all the, Disney does cater to disabilities and Universal does cater. Royal Caribbean has Autism on the Seas type program that they do. There are a lot of all-inclusive resorts, beaches that have autism and disability-friendly programs. And, not only autism, but disability if we have wheelchair issues or if you have food allergies or, there's different things like that people need catering to also. So we went through all those trainings to see where we could help people and get those families to where they can make those memories and not just be stuck in the house.
Yeah, look also on the services you offer, destination weddings. That must be fun.
It's fun. It can be stressful.
Yeah,
brides can be crazy.
That's what I was thinking, but I was going to be tactful about it.
But it's okay. I've been very fortunate to have wonderful brides that are not bridezillas so far.
So far.
And it's amazing.
Where do they want to go?
let's see, they were just married 2 days ago in St. Lucia at the Sandals. We did an over the water chapel, which was beautiful.
So you don't handle like the details of the wedding itself, but your travel arrangements, the lodging, all
A little bit of both.
Really?
And it depends on how involved they want me to be. So I work with, for instance, this one at Sandals, I work with the rooms, getting the rooms set up, making sure that they're connected to the on-site wedding planner. And then they set up Zoom calls and have conferences and keep me posted or keep me on the Zoom calls.
I just was thinking, you don't choose the flowers, you don't choose the dress or nothing.
No. They have a list and they have a menu that they send the client. And then I will help, I may or may not be involved in some of it. Some add fireworks. There's all these things. I have one in Mexico that she is in October and she wants me completely involved. So I'm on every Zoom call and it's because she's scatterbrained and I'm not. And so I keep all the details and this is what you have to pick today. Tomorrow you're picking your flowers. Tomorrow, so I can be as involved as little or, as much as they want. But the main thing is setting up all the initial wedding stuff and then the rooms and the travel for the people attending the wedding.
Also, the honeymoons, and that must be fun too because you have a happy couple, no doubt. I remember my wife and I had our honeymoon in London. Do you do European business?
I do European business.
Okay. You were mentioning Scotland prior. I've been to Scotland twice, but it's been a long, long time. And you mentioned something that people need to be aware of when you go to European countries and they say this is the nicest hotel in town. We may be a bit spoiled here in the United States.
I think we are a little spoiled in the United States. I did have a client go to Scotland here recently, and one of the resorts that they said it was 4-star was not her 4-star. We survived and it was fine, and she had a great trip, but she did come back and go, we might want to talk about whether or not this is 4-star American standards. So she had a good time. But yeah, there are different things that are going to be different in different countries.
Well, we were staying in our honeymoon, we were staying what they consider to be a pretty nice high-end hotel. And it was, well, the lobby was nice.
Yeah.
And then we go to the room, and I remember my poor bride, first of all, we get in an elevator that we had to go one at a time because it was so small. And then we go to the room, and she opens the door and turns around and bursts into tears because it looked like something out of a flop house out of Charles Dickens. And we look out the back window, and, I was expecting to see, something in London. What I saw was literally what you would think a Dickens-like scene. Clotheslines hanging out there and stuff like that. And I said, oh, Robin, it's okay. We're not going to spend much time here. So we'll go do the things. And we did and all that. So, when Rob and I travel on vacation, which isn't very common, very often, we don't schedule a lot of stuff. We don't get like on tours. We don't have like a schedule. But you can help people with that. If they want to have, like, I want to go see all the sites in New York or whatever, you can schedule all that for them, right?
Absolutely. So we can do, there's even ways where we could do it partially scheduled and then free time. So we can everything can be catered to that person.
Well, here's another part. We can talk about compensation right here. The best part is it costs you nothing to work with us.
Correct.
How does that work?
We are paid by commission from all the different suppliers and tour operators that we work with. So cruise lines pay us, Disney pays us. All these different places pay us a commission. All travel agents are paid that commission. We do not charge any fees on top of that for 90% of our business.
Well, you felt spiritually led, so to speak, to make that the way you want to do business. I mean, so we're talking about somebody,
Absolutely.
a young woman of faith that who does this or does it this way because she felt that was the way the Lord would want her to do it.
Right. So there are agents that charge fees, and that's totally fine. Everybody has a different business model. I prayed about it, talked to Jesus, and really firmly believe that he told me not to charge any fees, that he would take care of me. And so far he has. We were talking about it earlier. I've been now 2 years in a row, Best of Living Magazine's Best Travel Agent, right?
I was going to bring that up.
So,
I know you're very self-conscious about
I
tooting your own horn.
I don't like to brag or anything, but I firmly believe that Jesus told me not to do something. I'm doing my business the way that he wants me to run it. And because of that, he is taking care of us and our business has grown. Now, I will charge a fee if you say, hey, Melissa, I have my entire Disney trip planned. I did it all online. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me navigate the parks or make dining reservations or something like that? Absolutely, because it is my time and my time is valuable. And so is our knowledge. And I'm not being paid by Disney because you booked your trip somewhere else. So for something like that, there is a fee. I have a bride that wants me to go to the wedding. Something like that, just to make sure that I'm there to, line everything out. Those things there are fees for. And, at least my airplane tickets and stuff like that, right? But 90% of our stuff is complimentary, and we don't charge fees when you use our agency.
Well, you got the number here on the screen, 817-233-8157. And also you have a website.
I do, and I don't see it on that one, but it is.
You'll flip it around. Taylor, where was the other one? I did see it on the one you had right prior to this one.
Right there at the bottom.
Yeah, www.enchantedwoodstravel.com.
Yep. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. And we're kind of on TikTok. I feel like some days I'm really good at being silly and video-wise, and other days I just hand it over to my teen. So
yeah, that's the way I do
feel like
my
I should
stuff,
do better on there, but I'm not there yet.
Well, neither am I. When I have a problem, I talk to my daughter. Okay, what did I just do here on my computer? Oh, you click. Now you're back to where you were.
Absolutely.
That kind of stuff. I really do like all these various opportunities. No, it's a word. Areas in which you specialize in, because, some people, don't have this kind of breadth of activity, and you look like you get the whole thing covered. As far as going back to the European travel, is that more affordable now than it was maybe a couple of years ago? Because I know that, you have to, if you're doing it, you have to take into account currency exchange rates and all this other business and whatnot. How's it looking this summer?
Airfare is still a little high. The trips there, so there are some great Europe Mediterranean cruises, right? And there's some great river cruises that pricing can be nice. Yeah. But to get there, sometimes the airfare is a little astronomical. So we want to, book it early, obviously, watch those rates. That's always the best thing. Cruise lines right now are 90% sold out for 2024 and partially sold out for 2025.
Really?
So they've opened up some sailings into 2026 to capture that business because everybody went from not wanting to cruise at all to now everybody wants to cruise. Well,
I remember when the COVID first was starting to hit, it first manifested itself on cruise ships, and they wouldn't let people off for 2 or 3 weeks and all this other stuff. My wife also would like to do one of those German river cruises. She saw that on one of her shows. She loves those kind of shows and HGTV and DY and all that, but she likes those kind of special shows. And she said, we need to do that. And I'm like, oh. Boy, that's going to be tough because I checked the prices out, and it was just to get there and to take the cruise, it would have been very pricey.
Yeah, they're well worth the money. I could say it that way.
Yeah. But you never get bored doing this, do you?
I don't have time to get bored.
I'm not talking about this part of it, but on the trips themselves. I mean, you've done it so often. You don't get bored at Disney World. You don't get bored on the resorts.
I'm a giant child most days, so Disney World to me is just amazing. I actually was looking at something last night for another client, and there's a Barbie themed room and suites I found at a place in the Bahamas. And so now I want to go there. I want to stay in this giant Barbie room. So I've posted on my Facebook last night, and all sorts of people are messaging me.
I saw it.
And they're like, where is this? So all of us crazy girls, right? Disney and Universal are constantly adding things. Who can get tired of going to an all-inclusive and laying out in the sun and drinking all you want, Cruise lines, they have so much to do on them, you're not going to be bored. So, no, going places is amazing.
The only time I've been in an all-inclusive was 30 years ago in Maui. My wife won an award for the company for her performance that year. And, it was about 50 people that won that award. And it was Dun & Bradstreet, which is a, international company. And the week that they had chosen was the same week that my son was due to be born. So they said, "Oh, you can go later. Here, we'll just comp you later." And so we went about 4 or 5 months later. It was on Maui, and I saw it about a month and a half later on a TV show that's not around anymore, but as old timers know it. Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. With Robin Leach.
I remember that.
Yeah, and boy, it was nice. And, that like I was saying earlier in the last day, it was like, well, we want to eat at the fancy restaurant one more time, but like, I might just have a salad. I'm so full, because you just let yourself go a little bit on those cruises or those resorts and such. Right. But I don't know if I'd get bored either, because I would like to travel more. I'd like to go back to Scotland, but it'll happen if it happens. Right now we're painting the house.
There's always something.
Always something.
Always something.
Yeah, and Taylor's heard my story about my backed up water issues I had to deal with this week. So anyway, that's always something. I feel like that couple in Up, that movie. You remember? You've seen
right.
that? And at the beginning, they show them getting together and they save money, and then she breaks her leg, and they break the piggy bank, and they start saving money, and then it needs a tire, and they have to break the piggy bank. So that's kind of how I feel sometimes.
Well, we do budgets, right? And you plan in advance so that you can pay it out. And then some things we just have to decide, like, what is most important and what are we going to spend our money on, like, right? Don't buy the coffee, put the $5 in the, in the trip fund. That thing can be done too. A lot of these places do have deposit only, and you can pay it out up until 45, 60, 90 days before the trip, just depending on
really
where we're going. So that's awesome.
So that's why I would talk to you, because I wouldn't know these things.
Absolutely.
I would have no idea. I would just say, well, we're going to Charleston, like I mentioned before, so I get on the internet and hope I did the best I could. But I would talk to you now, certainly, because I want the best experience for the best money, and I'm sure that's a common for
Everybody
all your
does.
clients. Right.
And Disney World, because we talk so much about Disney, if you were to go online at Disney and you were to look for the trip, you're going to see the exact same prices I'm going to see, right? The only difference is I'm going to help you navigate it all, and I'm going to help you do some things that, you may not know and find those better experiences, where at that point, the money's not the issue at that moment, because you're paying the same price either way, right? Somebody gets on Expedia and they're like, well, it's $20 cheaper for me to book Expedia versus whoever you're booking. If we're just going somewhere in the States, that's fine, except for you're not going to have that knowledge, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of where the agent comes in.
That's what I would want. Also, particularly one that's experienced in a certain area of the country. Oh, you want to go here, you want to do this, you don't want to miss that, as opposed to just hit or miss.
And some of our best clients are the ones that are just like, I don't have time to deal with this. Please handle it. And they don't care, and they just want to go somewhere.
Right. Well, we have a couple of minutes left. Why don't you take over, give us the last word, how the people can get a hold of you, and anything else you want us to know.
So the best way is to go to my website at enchantedwoodstravel.com, and there is a section that says Client Forms, and click on the form that corresponds to the trip you want to take. If you can fill that out, because that's going to be an initial step either way. You can also call my cell, 817-233-8157, and I can help direct you to that or help answer any quick questions. So we do the forms, we do a consult, and then we work from there.
We also are both members of BNI. I probably not as long as you. I joined in August of 21. When did you join?
It was probably right before COVID, so 2019-ish.
Yeah, we started on Zoom.
Yes, we did too.
Yeah, and but you kind of keep us in line. Do you have other chapters besides us?
I have my personal chapter that I'm a member of, and then I have one other chapter in Arlington.
Okay, so we're not the only ones that drive you crazy.
No, y'all don't drive me crazy.
Yeah, we haven't seen you. You got to come back and visit.
It's on my schedule. I was trying to get my daughter off to college and some other things, and it's been a kind of busy, just work-wise. So yes,
sure.
You were on my schedule this month to come visit.
Okay. Well, I have really benefited from BNI. I did not know of it until Camille Bransom said, hey, join this group. It'll help you with your sponsorship. And definitely it has, because not only these four I have now, I've had a couple of others. So, yes, I've made money and I've made good friends. So you can't beat that. So
it's all about networking.
It is networking. Well, anyway, thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's fine. I learned a lot. That's why I like to have different guests come on, because I don't know these things. Now I know a little bit more, and I definitely know who to call. So, Taylor, we got a doubleheader coming up on Thursday, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, which is an appropriate phrase, because the 9 o'clock meeting is with Kay Goodell, the Cleveland Railroaders. We're going to talk about them. And then I have a BNI member, Sydney Millisted, who is a insurance broker and a very nice young lady and whatnot. Avon Cummings is watching that, and she's overseas. That's really, it's interesting. I just saw it pop up, and she's in Scotland right now. So,
Oh, wow.
anyway, well, she's been there a long time. I don't know if she's maybe on vacation now. I don't know what she's doing, but she lives there. So it's interesting at that international audience. What can I say?
Yay.
All righty, we'll see y'all on 9 o'clock Thursday morning.